What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to the channel. We're jumping in with some more Marvel Rivals content, so let's jump in because there's a lot to cover for the end of this month. May 30th is quickly approaching, and we've got some hero balance adjustments and some ability previews for two characters who are getting some major adjustments to the way their kits work. So without further ado, let's roll right in. Before we do, I want to start off with what we got with this update this week, which was two new uniforms in the shop. We've got the Immortal Dragon bundle, which is a really nice bundle in here for Adam Warlock and for Scarlet Witch. Let's take a look at these uniforms real quick. I purchased them both just because the cost was there. I'm not quite the fan of the Scarlet Witch uniform as much as I am the Adam Warlock, but you know, this appeals probably to a certain player base than it does to me. I'm not really a DPS player. Realistically, my problems with the uniform comes down to the lack of elements that happen below her waist. There's just not a whole lot going on there to kind of tie, you know, high to low for me. I'm not trying to be a fashion, you know, magnet or something like that, but there's just something missing there for me, and the uniform starts to fall apart. I really dislike the little tassel that's in front of her eyes with it waving about as well, but there are some elements of the uniform that I do really like. The crown looks very dragon-esque. I like it. It's also mixed in with her typical Wanda type crown with the front piece, so it looks really good. I like the corset, or whatever this piece, the belt, is supposed to be. Nice little details there as it wraps around her waist, and the claw hands are a really nice touch as well. Her MVP screen is definitely a really good looking MVP screen. As a legendary skin, I can imagine why this was given the detail that it was. It looks really good in my opinion. Her emote falls a little flat for me, really. I don't really care for it that much, but her nameplate is definitely one of the better nameplates that I've seen in the game thus far, and she gets a nice golden red and golden blonde dragon spray paint in there as well. Now, Adam Warlock's uniform to me really pops. I love the bronze on gold on copper type look to his uniform, and there's a lot of detail here. I like this uniform more than I like the Dr. Mandarin. That's what I'm calling the Doctor Strange one now, that my boy Tony said it, but I like that one, this one better, because it just really ties in better to here. You can see he's got these two dragons adorning his shoulder. There's a lot of detail to that one. I really like the jade embellishments on his back and then on his belt as well. When you play this uniform in game, there's a 3/4 side profile similar to the way they fixed Thor's uniform, so that way you're still not seeing his face, but you've got a better visibility over his right shoulder. The staff has a really nice wind-up sound to it, where it's like ding 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 ding, escalating sounds as the abilities charge up, and I like the look of the dragon's claw that's there. So overall, I really dig on Adam Warlock's uniform. I really wish that he was a legendary uniform, so we could have got a little bit of a longer animation here for his MVP screen, just because I wanted to see more of, like, you know, the statue cocoon that he's breaking out of here. It looks really dope though. I really do like it overall. And then we get his emote, which is pretty funny to me because he's smacking and smashing the demon skulls, and they have this really funny pop 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 sound. Nothing really to write home about his nameplate. And then we get a golden dragon spray paint for him. So really good looks overall for those. Now we're gonna jump into what you're all here for, and that's the hero balance adjustments. So we did get the season 2.5 kickoff dev blog, and what a dev blog it was in terms of what you got introduced to. So I want to pull that up for you guys so we can see and take a look at this. Now,
hello everyone,
I'm gonna turn this volume down here. What we did get was a pretty good breakdown of this hero balance adjustments and everything that's coming to Marvel Rivals with the 30th update. So let's jump in and let's take a look at what they talked about. Number one, the big thing obviously is the introduction of Ultron and him joining the game. I think most players are really looking forward to the Ultron gameplay, and you probably are justified inside your reactions. I think that what they showed for Ultron looked very appetizing. Let's take a look at that really quickly.
Today, the age of Ultron begins.
So obviously we know we're gonna get better skins than what this one is. He looks more like one of the droids, or the you know, his droids than he does Ultron in terms of size, especially with his thin legs and everything. But He's got a really interesting fly kit for a strategist where basically he gets this beam. He's got some really good range there. And then we get, you know, his drones that go out and can do healing in the front and healing in the back. So this is definitely going to probably be a popular kit. I love it. I love it. This is going to be a really good look overall for the strategist gameplay. I imagine we're going to probably see a lot of players doing this. Now, outside of this, we did get adjustments for team ups that are basically coming. So they're adding in 4 new team ups and they're getting rid of 6. So essentially, Symbiote Serum is going to be a new one. It's a team up between Venom and Jeff, which is going to give Jeff the symbiote tendrils and allow him to link and heal allies. Operation Microchip is going to be one with Black Widow and Punisher. Black Widow is going to gain a pulse rifle that allows her to aim down sights and shoot through targets, while Punisher is going to get a nice bonus to his healing, oh excuse me, not his healing, his damage output. We get Chilling Assault to team up with Luna Snow and Hawkeye. Hawkeye is basically gaining a ice arrow which can area of effect freeze enemies. This should be great for trying to lock down zones and target enemies. We get Rocket Network, which is going to be Penny Parker and Rocket Raccoon. Essentially, Rocket Raccoon's Be Right Back ability is going to deploy with a web nest and mines around it. So this should be really cool in terms of the way it plays. And then we get Iron Man and Ultron, where Ultron is going to gain a fire-piercing ray, and that's going to allow him to deal damage and heal teammates simultaneously, which is in kind of keeping with Jeff's new kit. And then we get the Jeff NATO team up between Storm and Jeff. Now, outside of that, we get the removal of the Chilling Charisma, Allied Agents, Ammo Overload, and Symbiote Bond. Now, they did announce this new gameplay that you see on the screen here, which looks like an RTS chess, but it's auto. I'm not exactly how I feel about it. I don't log into Marvel Rivals, my third-person shooter, hero shooter, with the anticipation of playing, you know, auto playing chess or RTS type strategy inside here. But they've added this game mode and it's gonna appeal to somebody. I'm probably just not the target audience inside there. Now, along with this, we did get a few hero balance adjustments, and they did announce the quality of life improvements as well. Specifically, they're going to have the hero proficiencies avatars that are going to be added to the character selection screen, and then they announced the shorter seasons. So the seasons with the start of season 3 are going to be broken down into 2 months instead of 3, and then we're going to get a hero each month. This is kind of in keeping with Marvel's overall direction of trying to like put out characters so that way players have fun to play with whatever character they want to. If you play Marvel Strike Force, Marvel Future Fight, or any of the other host of Marvel games on the market, you kind of understand where this is going from there. So that's a lot of information to take in and swallow, but it was all there inside of this, you know, nice, neat trailer. I want to skip over so that way you guys can see some of the team ups. Here you can see Jeff the Land Shark with his team up, where essentially the tendrils allow him to spread that healing to various enemies. In that regard, it kind of looks a lot like Adam Warlock's when he chain links everybody inside here. My more interesting one that I see is while we get Operation Microchip and she gets this pulse rifle blast shooting down multiple targets, it looks cool. Not necessarily a thing. The Chilling Assault with Hawkeye, where he freezes a whole line of targets, should be a very interesting team up. But I think the Rocket Network is the one that I'm most intrigued about. You can see here we get the laydown with Penny, but when Rocket deploys his mine, you're gonna get the web laydowns in the mines, and Penny drops some armor packs as well with hers. So this should be a very interesting team up in order to protect the back row of your healer support a lot more. I'm expecting to see this team up quite a bit in the new season. I just can't imagine any way around it. Here we can see Stark Protocol, where essentially Ultron is aiming, dealing damage and healing an ally inside here. Jeff is also getting this. What I wonder is if this is a test strategy into how they're going to be handling strategists from here on out, because at current, for most of them, you basically are switching between DPS and switching between healing, which, you know, kind of like drains off when you see certain healers like Jeff or Loki or even like Mantises join the map, because you're wondering whether or not these people are going to play more DPS style or are they going to play more healing style. So it should be very interesting nonetheless to see. So without excuse me, without further ado, I want to jump in and talk about some of the hero balance adjustments that we're basically seeing over the course of this season. I think they're really important so that way players understand them, especially for two characters. And I think they recognize there's been a lot of discourse over the course of the evening about these two characters, Jeff and Thor. So we see some buffs and some nerfs for some characters inside the game. And I think some of them are valid. Some of them seem to be a little bit of a, I don't know how to say it, a little bit of a weird one inside here. So we can see Captain America, he's receiving quite the bit of a nerf in terms of just his survivability mechanics. I don't necessarily see this one impacting him so much. I don't think that, like, you know, the skilled players who play with him are going to be too hindered by the loss of his base health about 25 and the increase of his freedom charge ability as well. Doctor Strange, to me, this looks like they're just basically buffing him back to the normal levels that he was at before they did the nerf to him. Realistically, he just feels like you're running around with a wall character now, with very little outside to offer. Emma Frost is receiving quite a little bit of a nerf here in terms of at least her diamond form. They're increasing her telepathic pulse range, but I don't know that is a good enough trade-off to basically decrease the values of Mind Aegis, Carbon Crush, and then her Crystal Kick. I don't like this change. I'm not sure why it was needed. I guess we'll have to wait to see what the pick rates and the ban rates were for Emma Frost at maybe some of the top skill levels, but I don't know that this was necessarily needed. I am working on getting her to Lord status. I'm probably about 1,000, I think 1,500 points away from that, so hopefully I'll get it done before the 30th. Groot is receiving somewhat a nerf as well. We can see that the decrease the damage vine per strike is going down from 70 to 65, and Ironwood Wall's cooldown is being increased from 8 to 12 seconds. I don't think this is necessarily to impact him, but he has a high ban rate currently right now, so it is definitely viable. Those walls go up and it takes a lot. We get Magneto, who's receiving a slight boost to his standard damage, the same as Doctor Strange, so hopefully the two of them will see some more play. Thor and and Jeff's abilities, I'm going to explain a little bit later on, but essentially his hammer throw is now becoming a standard ability instead of being tied to his Thor Force use. So this will be a good thing in my opinion overall, but let's take a look at this further down. So Hawkeye is receiving some bonuses, some boosts to him as well. So we see across the kit is base damage, projectile damage for blast arrow, and the maximum focus abilities they're being increased as well. Hela is getting a bit of a boost as well for her charge capacities, Night Sword Thorn, and then we get Human Torch receiving quite the nerf. He's reducing the damage of Flyer Cluster, getting the charge speed of Blazing Blast increase, and then the decrease the shield value of his Flaming Meteor as well, while also increasing the cooldown for this. Iron Fist himself is also receiving quite a bit of a nerf. One of the characters I would say needed, so both his damage and survivability are basically being nerfed a little bit there. Likewise, Iron Man is also receiving a nerf, so he's being totally removed from the Gamma Rage team up, and he's being moved into the Stark Protocol team up. Now you can see here that these seemingly to me are the buffs that they had from the previous update. They're basically removing those, so they're reducing the armor overdrive maximum bonus health from 100 to 50, and then you can see they're decreasing the projectile damage of his repulsor blast from 50 to 45, while also decreasing the spell field damage. If memory serves me correctly, these were the buffs that they gave him at the beginning of season 2, so those are being removed. Namor is receiving a bit of a nerf as well. The specific one that I paid the most attention was the Monstro damage fall off, or his squid damage. So essentially we're reducing the damage by 30% at 40 meters and 50% at 40 meters as well. So we'll see how that works out. One of the heroes receiving a nerf that I was surprised about was Psylocke. So we can see her wind shurikens are basically getting a drop from 14 to 12, and they're reducing the amount of time for her to be invisible from 3 seconds to from 2 seconds. This is good because she seemingly was just like always invisible, and I do mean that. always invisible. So we'll have to see where that goes from there. Squirrel Girl, somebody I didn't think needed a buff, is receiving one. Her acorn capacity is going from 10 to 12. The cooldown of ammo bond is being reduced from 12 to 10, and then they're optimizing some of the experience for some of her abilities to include her ultimate. Star-Lord is receiving a bit of a nerf, as it's going to hopefully give him longer times between casting his ultimate ability, and they're reducing the damage fall off ranges as well for those. Storm is getting a bit of a buff. Not only is she going to have the team up with Jeff to form the Jeff NATO ultimate, but she's also going to have the damage output of her Omega Hurricane increase from 150 to 160 per second. Punisher is receiving a buff. Realistically, all of his buff to me really feels like everything that was available via ammo overload is being put into his kit, or everything that's being adjusted to the things that was inside of the new team up with Black Widow. So he's getting improvements to his magazine capacity and the single hit damage, while also reducing the fire spread of his abilities. So Luna Snow is also receiving a bit of a buff. Light and dark healing amounts are going to be increased from 20 to 22. We get the new absolute zero effect, is going to grant 50 bonus health per enemy hit, and then we do get a little bit of a nerf to her ultimate ability, where it's going to be increased from 4,500 to 5,000. Rocket Raccoon surprisingly is receiving a nerf to his healing amounts. However, that healing amount is going to be present inside the team up ability with Penny Parker, so he's going to get that healing bonus from there anyways. So I'm not exactly sure why the repair mode needed a nerf to account for that, and you just basically don't leave it inside the team up ability. It's more like a lot of shifting of abilities more than it is nerfs and bonuses. Now, I did talk about Jeff, and I did talk about Thor, and then I think it's important that we take a look at those skills for them. So I'm going to bring up this trailer that they finally released to take a look at those, and I'm going to put this on so that way we can see what these look like overall. Now, I think realistically a lot of people assume that these were going to be major nerfs to the characters, but after they released the video, I think that probably is going to dissuade a lot of those feelings. So they've got all of the discussion around it, so we have to look at these, right? So now essentially with the hammer throw is not having a shared ability pool with his Thor Force, so that's a good thing. The only thing that I wonder about is the 6-second cooldown for the hammer throw. So you can see there, the right click, it's about a 6-second cooldown, but what this is intended to do is increase the amount of time that you are able to maintain his awakening form. So now you're basically going to awakening form, throw a hammer, throw Mjolnir Bash, and it's going to help you basically quickly build up energy, so that way the duration of that awakening rune is going to last longer. Now, he does seemingly get a bit of a nerf there to what his survivability is going to be, because you see as we go back, you see here like the overshield that he has is being reduced. Now Jeff is getting a bit of a balance, and I think the notes, it was mostly due to the bad note changes and the initial balance update message that they had here. They've since corrected them, so they're right now, but essentially the way this is going to now work is that his joyful splash is going to both pierce both allies and enemies. So when you're using his splash now, it's basically healing the teammates while also doing damage to allies. This should effectively make Jeff a better healer, because at purposes right now, people were using that damn bubble to basically do damage to enemies, and they weren't basically healing. Now they have another way to deal damage to enemies while also providing you heals. If you notice, Ultron also has this ability with the team up with Iron Man, so I'm hoping that this is going to come to a lot of other strategist type players, because at current, like when we look at the strategist field, it doesn't quite feel as if though these are strategist characters. They don't feel like they're changing the landscape with what they're doing, as so much as they're just either providing heals or DPS. And I think that could really help out the strategist class in general, and stop people from not playing the strategist class, so that way they feel like they can run around and do damage just as much as they can do healing. I get the point. You don't want them to feel too much like DPS characters, and you want them to have their role, but you could make these characters so that way they weren't specifically heal roles, controls, and they do have some strategy elements that were allowed to change this landscape of the battlefield with just some of their normal skills. We'll have to see how these pan out, but I think the video that they put out for these should dissuade a lot of the notions and feelings that these are necessarily nerfs. Yes, Thor is receiving a lot less of an overshield for his abilities, but that's at the risk that you're basically providing a lot more DPS by him being able to maintain that awakening form and just run rampant through parties. I'm liking the changes, to be perfectly honest with you. Playing Jeff like this might have more appeal to players now because you won't have to worry about seeing just DPS Jeff. Like, that's the truth of the matter. Like, if you've played the game so far, you know that feeling of just seeing DPS Jeff. So that's it. So this is basically everything coming to the update in at the end of the month. There are some team up abilities, like I said, that you can take a look at. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in the Stark Protocol for the Iron Man and Ultron team up, and then, you know, seeing some of the balance changes that they're going to also be making to some of the existing team ups. For instance, Atlas Bond, they're changing that one. They're decreasing the anchor damage bonus boost proportion from 15 to 10. The Fantastic Four is getting an increase on their cooldown for Storm siblings, Wedded Harmony, and Cooperative Comrades from 20 to 25. Gamma Charge, Hulk and Namor, they're increasing the Squid cooldown from 15 to 22nd. And then Mental Projection with Emma Frost, Psylocke, and Magneto is also receiving a 30 to 20% reduction in terms of the proportion of damage caused by magnetic resonance and soul resurgence. So that's everything that they've basically announced in the dev note that we basically have, with some more clarifications. I don't want to leave you guys off without some information, however, that they did put out for the new map, and that's the Araco map that's going to basically be coming to the game. So it looks like a very cool, interesting map, so let's take a look at that one as well. Sister Island of Krakoa. This should be very interesting. I like the design of this map overall. I think these guys are really cooking with the game. I'm really excited about the rate at which they're putting out content and how they're trying to keep the player base engaged. Join over on their Discord community so that way you guys can see what's happening, what's going down, why they're making changes, and, you know, don't get yourself too much in a tizzy. But Araco looks fire to me. This looks very, very good. If you haven't read any of the comics, go over to the Marvel Unlimited app and you can basically read a whole backlog of information from there. And this should be very appealing to the community player base. I hope you guys liked the video. Please do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button, comment in the section below, and let me know how you feel about these new updates coming to Marvel Rivals. Until next time, guys, peace.